They floored the new girl without warning. 2 hits in the dark, no hesitation, no mercy. She went down hard, motionless on impact. The instructors laughed it off, calling it training, another lesson in toughness. To them, she was just some over-cleared observer, no trident, no history, just a silent woman with a tucked-in badge no one bothered to question. What they missed was that the one they'd knocked out cold wasn't an outsider at all. She was a Navy SEAL, and she hadn't blacked out. She was waiting for the right second to rise, step back onto that mat, and end the entire match before they could blink. Before we show you the chokehold that erased every ounce of arrogance from their faces and the line that froze the gym silent, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Tap subscribe, turn that bell on, and stay ready, because this time the so-called new girl wasn't new, she was trained. The Pacific wind carried its usual heaviness, steady, calm, and sure. On the far western rim of the base, beyond the rusted cargo stacks and razor wire, the waves hammered the seawall in rhythm. Down on the combat deck, drift wasn't an option. Lieutenant Commander Lara Moore stepped off the idling transport with a zero ceremony. No greeting party, no fanfare. Her boots hit asphalt clean, duffel over shoulder, tan fatigues pressed, no name tag, no rank marks, just a clipped badge reading observer clearance, interbranch rotation. Behind the tinted truck window, a young Marine watched her approach the gate. "Think she's admin," he whispered. "Probably audit control," his buddy replied. "Another clipboard officer." But she carried no clipboard. Beyond the checkpoint, the metallic chaos rolled. Kettlebells smashing concrete, sparring mats being dragged, the sharp blend of salt, oil, and heat thick in the air. From behind the supply annex, Sergeant Cole Briggs leaned on an ammo crate. "That her?" Corporal Mason Tate squinted through the glare. "Yeah, Moore. Behavioral placement, joint ops, no record placeholder." Briggs snorted. "Got that don't touch me look. Probably here to file a report. She is a report." They chuckled as she passed. Her stride stayed even, eyes forward, but nothing escaped her notice. She scanned the mat spacing, the armory locks, the guard's salute that came 2 beats too late. She said nothing, though she logged it all. On the operations board near the watchtower, her name glowed near the bottom in institutional gray. Moore, observer rotation. No fanfare, no welcome, just a label on a screen. She drew a slow breath, adjusted the strap on her shoulder, and stepped inside the compound. Just another quiet woman with clearance credentials, invisible in plain sight. No one, not yet, bothered to ask what she had really come to watch. The midday light didn't strike Iron Bay directly. It bounced off steel siding, tinted glass, and sweat-darkened gravel. The close quarters response unit had already gathered. Marines, Navy, and a few contractors in regulation PT kits mixed across the mats. No visible ranks, just vest numbers and taped initials. That was how Sergeant Cole Briggs liked to run his teams. Anonymity created its own order, the kind that wasn't sewn onto collars. "All right," he barked, tossing gloves to a recruit. 1-minute grapples, take the legs or hold top position. No taps, only pins. Lara Moore stood at the edge of the mat, adjusting slim black wrist wraps, standard issue, nothing reinforced. Briggs turned, half smirk, tugging his mouth. "You planning to type us to death, Commander?" Laughter rippled. She looked up calmly. "No," she said. "I plan to stay on my feet." There wasn't a trace of sarcasm, which somehow stung more. Corporal Mason Tate stepped forward. "We pairing by rank or weight?" Briggs shrugged. "Neither. We pair by reality. You want a lead, you survived the fall. He gestured toward her. After you, ma'am. She stepped in without pause. The mat's coarse surface bit at her boots, still slick from earlier bouts. Rolling her shoulders once, she settled low, knees bent, posture loose, center steady. Tate moved quick, too quick for a warm-up. Not testing, probing. A single leg grab to throw her off balance. She shifted, counterweighted, blocked with a sharp hip check, almost perfect. But his next move was cheap, an inside hook masked as a stumble. His foot caught her ankle and he twisted, using his shoulder for leverage. She hit hard, not flat. Shoulder first, air bursting from her lungs in a low grunt. "Oof," someone muttered. She pushed back up instantly. No pause, no shake-off, just a quiet reset. Tate gave a crooked grin. "Sorry. Slipped." She didn't answer. By the third exchange, the tone had changed. Whispers passed down the line. "She's not SEAL Command. She's admin. Look at those clearance tags never deployed." Up on the terrace, the commandant watched with folded arms, jotting a note before handing his clipboard to an aide. Seconds later, her file updated. Standard endurance, moderate retention, low counter initiative. No praise, no context. Down below, Lara stood alone again, breathing measured, uniform dusted gray. Tate looked to Briggs as if awaiting approval. Briggs only said, "Told you. She's a placement." But she'd taken that fall deliberately, storing it away. By nightfall, long shadows stretched over Iron Bay. The base had quieted. Only the hum of generators and the hiss of surf remained. In the mess hall, fluorescent lights buzzed while trays clattered. Dinner was the usual: oversalted protein, rehydrated starch, something green no one touched. At the far table sat Briggs, ruling conversation like always. Boots stretched, spoon in one hand, ego in the other. "You see her face when Tate dropped her?" he said loudly. "I've seen rookies brace better falling off an office chair." Laughter followed. Tate smirked, stabbing at his chicken. Didn't even argue, just stood there like it was a policy meeting. "That's because it is," someone joked. "She's probably drafting a behavior memo." "Good," Briggs said. "I'll give her something worth writing." He didn't have to explain. Everyone caught the meaning. "She's got one foot in paperwork," he went on. "Somebody needs to remind her what the ground feels like." He leaned in, lowering his voice so the others leaned too. 17 years I've done this. Seen every kind of leadership they cycle through here. The ones who last," Briggs said, "earn it in the dirt first, not behind briefing room glass." One of the Delta instructors nodded. "She's never even been downrange, far as I know." "Exactly," Briggs replied. "So we test her. Not to break her, just to find out if there's anything under that uniform worth respect." His gaze drifted toward the window where Lara Moore had been sitting minutes earlier. The seat was empty now. "Tonight, unofficial mat time, just us. No cams after 2100, another added. Standard contact rules." Tate hesitated. "And if she reports it?" Briggs shrugged. "She won't. People like that don't want noise. They fold quiet or they walk away. Either way, lesson delivered." The table chuckled again. One of the younger instructors muttered, "Combat physics." Briggs tapped his spoon against the tray like a gavel. "Exactly. Physics. Mass over myth." Across the mess, Lara sat by the window, untouched tray in front of her. She hadn't looked their way once, but her head tilted slightly, posture loose, the kind that only came from hearing every word without seeming to. She rose, lifted her tray, and slipped out without sound. Outside, the night air carried salt and asphalt. She moved past the annex toward the barracks and entered the dim comms room. Empty. Closing the door, she keyed her access code into the wall console. The screen flickered, revealing a pixelated handler in civilian attire. Headset on, tone clipped. "Progress?" he asked. "Predictable," she replied. "Behavior matches the warning packet. Unofficial engagement scheduled for tonight." He leaned forward. "Need override protocol?" "No," she said. "Let them run their test." Silence stretched. Authority exchanged without words. Then the feed cut off. Lara turned away, unzipped the side pouch of her duffel, and drew out her sparring wraps. Regulation-grade stitching, fingertips exposed. She wound them slowly, each loop precise, no showmanship, just focus. Then she unlaced her boots, retied them twice, and stood before the mirror. The reflection that stared back was calm, distant, unflinching. Her whisper filled the stillness. "Let's see how physics feels when it hits back." The gym, after hours, wasn't silent, just still. Every weight shift, every breath echoed too long, like the building itself was waiting. Overhead, a row of failing lights buzzed to life, half flickering out. Their cold glow made the mats look like an interrogation floor. Too harsh to comfort, too dim to hide. Lieutenant Commander Lara Moore entered through the side door. No announcement, no hesitation, duffel slung over her shoulder, gloves already tight. Sergeant Cole Briggs and Corporal Mason Tate waited with 2 Delta instructors. Solid builds, cocky grins. One bounced lightly on his heels, the other cracked his knuckles, theatrically confident. Tate looked her over. "Didn't think you'd show." "I was curious," she said evenly, "how much you rely on uneven odds." Briggs chuckled. "It's not odds, it's gravity. People like you forget that." He tossed her a mouthguard still sealed in plastic. "You want it clean? Take it." She didn't. She stepped forward onto the mat, stance square, feet planted. "Rules of contact?" she asked. "Full body," Tate said. "No hits above the collarbone, no blindside strikes." "Of course," Briggs added, grinning. "We're professionals." She nodded once. "Then proceed." The first exchanges looked routine. One Delta man advanced with a basic clinch and drag, testing her footing. She dropped low, broke contact, deflected with clean precision. Nothing fancy. The second came harder. A shoulder check strong enough to drop most under 150. Lara rolled through, reset instantly. Briggs circled. "Got some balance, I'll give you that." Then came the snap, his elbow, sharp, fast, off script. It caught her at the temple just above the eye. Her head jerked slightly. Enough. Tate followed. Not with a strike, but a shove disguised as a slip. His forearm slammed against her jaw as she turned to brace. The impact shut her down mid-motion. She dropped. No cry, no gasp, just a dull thud as her body went still. Her gloves twitched once. A boot scraped the mat. Then nothing. For 2 long seconds no one moved. "She went down too fast," one muttered. "She breathing?" Tate crouched. "Yeah, pulse steady." Briggs knelt, checking her eyes. "Out cold, clean hit." "Not clean," Tate shot back. "That elbow wasn't in the rules." Briggs straightened. "Doesn't matter." She stepped into the ring. She knew the stakes. They dragged her aside, almost careful, setting her on a cot by the wall. No medics, no report, no call to command. "Heat stress," one suggested. "Slip," said another. "Overexertion." She didn't even log training hours. Briggs lingered a moment longer, staring down. "This doesn't leave the room." The others nodded, complicit, but none of them saw her fingers twitch. No gasp, no sudden rise, just a faint, deliberate breath. Then her eyelids fluttered once, again, rhythm steady. Lara Moore was waking up. The first thing she noticed was the smell, vinyl and sweat. The second thing she noticed was the hum, low, mechanical, coming from the overhead fan whose blades spun too slowly to matter. Just enough sound to mask silence, not enough to move air. Lieutenant Commander Lara Moore opened her eyes. No gasp, no jolt, just light meeting focus. Her body throbbed in a steady ache, bruises forming, jaw tight, temple pulsing. 4 seconds in, hold, 6 seconds out. Breath measured, pulse stabilizing in under 30. The room was empty, no guards, no medics, only her on the spare cot. The echo of footsteps long faded. She sat up slowly, balance steady, vision clear. Turning toward the wall mirror, she saw it. A bruise blooming dark along her temple, lip split clean at one edge. She leaned closer, not to admire the damage, but to study the calm beneath it. No anger, just presence. But her mind was already replaying the fight. Briggs's elbow, lead arm, upward angle, cheap shot dressed as a slip. Tate's shove, perfectly timed, not clumsy, coordinated. And the third man circling left while she was down. Textbook 3-point suppression. She'd seen the pattern before. Fallujah, Kandahar, insurgent tactics. Only those weren't supposed to be her own. She clenched her jaw once. Pain spiked sharp, then dulled. Manageable. The temple bruise would fade in 3 days. The lip would close by morning, if she didn't smile. She didn't plan to. Reaching beneath the cot, her fingers found her duffel tossed sideways. She dragged it close, unzipped it, and pulled out a folded patch, her regulation ID. The one admin had ordered her to remove for non-disruptive observation. Flipping it over, black thread spelled her name above the emblem most of these men had never seen in person. Naval Special Warfare Group 2. A silver eagle, wings spread over a trident. Not something you show off, something you earn. She clipped it beneath her tag, hidden unless someone looked too close. Then she stood, spine straight, gait unbroken. Every joint moved without hesitation. Recovery like that didn't come from luck. It came from endurance. She paced once around the mat. No limp, no rage, just balance regained. As she reached the door, her voice came low, barely audible. Guess we're done pretending. She pushed through into the night. The gym wasn't empty now, just unsuspecting. 3 instructors, Briggs, Tate, and 1 Delta man from the night before, stood loose on the mats, gloves half on, laughing about nothing. Another sat on the bench grinning. They didn't expect company. The door opened without warning. Lara Moore entered. No gym bag, no aid, only a faint yellowed bruise at her temple and a stiffness in her shoulder that made her shift slightly as she walked. She didn't stop until she reached the mat's edge. "You forgot to log the injury report," she said evenly. 4 heads turned. Briggs blinked, then smirked. "Didn't think you'd be standing already." "I was never down," she answered. He stepped forward, feigning concern. "If you're here to file a grievance, there's a process." "This is the process," she replied. Her tone hadn't changed, but the air did. Tate's smirk faltered. The Delta man flexed unconsciously. Lara stepped onto the mat, boots silent, movements exact, weight centered. She stood square, not in stance but in presence. "I believe your phrase was, 'Continue where you left off.'" The words landed soft but sharp. Briggs gave a short laugh, uneasy. "You serious?" "Fine, operational now. Same rules, except this time we follow them." The pause that followed lasted just too long. Then he nodded, tossed his towel aside, raised his guard, still confident, still blind. Her opening move came quiet, pure redirection. She slipped inside his right swing, caught his arm with a twist, and guided it past her hip, flawless and fast. It was textbook, the kind of counter they drilled at Bud S until it became muscle memory, the kind you repeated blindfolded at 2 in the morning. Briggs reset and came heavier, lunging forward with a grab meant to crush through defense. Laura Moore ducked under his momentum, pivoted clean on her heel, and drove one open palm straight into the ridge of his clavicle. The sound wasn't loud, just final. A thud that ended motion. Briggs dropped to his knees, gasping, arm limp at his side. His nerves had short-circuited on impact. Nothing broken, just shut down. "Still think physics is on your side?" she asked quietly. Tate stepped in next, all aggression and pride. She adjusted instantly. Weight shift, inside turn, trap, downward sweep. His feet lifted an inch before gravity reclaimed him. He hit the mat flat, pinned, breath ragged. The third man froze. The fourth didn't even blink. Laura stood above them, calm, collected. "This was your demonstration," she said. "Let's make sure everyone learns something from it." Silence pressed in thick. No threats, no shouting, just awareness. Briggs struggled upright, rolling his shoulder, trying to shake off the numbness. His right arm still hung dead at his side, but pride was already doing what pain couldn't. "You had your turn," he muttered. "Now I'll take mine." Laura didn't reply. She adjusted her stance, slight shift, knees loose, back heel grounded. No showmanship, just control. Briggs lunged, fast, sloppy, driven by anger. The kind of move instructors warn recruits never to use. His full weight poured forward, arms wide for a clinch. She waited until the last fraction of a second. Then everything happened at once. She stepped aside, redirected his motion with her left arm sliding across his neck, pivoting behind him before his boot even touched down. Her right arm locked deep, palm to bicep, elbow tight, perfect choke placement. Blood flow, not air. 3 seconds, he flinched. 4, he staggered. 5, his legs gave out. She lowered him to the mat, not gentle, not cruel, just precise. His head hit the floor with a dull thump. By 9 seconds it was over. He lay still, chest rising slow. The gym fell silent except for the faint buzz of the wall timer clicking back to 0, like it had been watching and decided the round was done. In the far corner, a trainee no one had noticed finally lowered his phone, camera still recording. Eyes wide, he said nothing. He didn't need to. Everyone knew what they'd witnessed. Tate sat on the edge of the mat, chest heaving, gaze fixed on the floor. The others stayed frozen, their hierarchy quietly inverted. Laura looked down at them, then turned to the last man still standing. "You still up?" she asked, not mocking, not harsh, just steady. He shook his head once. "Not anymore." Her expression didn't move. "Good." She crossed to the rack, picked up her gloves, and unstrapped them one by one, slow and deliberate. Before leaving, she spoke one last line. No venom, no victory. That's the difference between violence and control. She walked off. No applause, no noise. Just the echo of 3 men realizing what real discipline felt like. Near the door, the young trainee, Petty Officer Ryan Cruz, stayed frozen for 10 seconds after she vanished. His phone still warm in his grip, the final frame paused. Briggs slumped on the mat, Laura Moore walking away, posture steady. He replayed the choke sequence 3 times. 9-second start to finish. Perfect execution, the kind taught in advanced combat schools, not admin rotations. He glanced at Tate, still sitting and breathing hard, at the third man, still pressed against the wall, and at Briggs, upright now, rubbing at his throat. None of them looked at each other. Ryan Cruz saved the recording without password protection. No restriction tags, just uploaded it straight to the training safety server under Incident Documentation. Instructor Contact Protocol. Standard procedure for any physical engagement that might cause injury. By 0200 hours, it had been opened 4 times. By 0430, 12. At 0600, the Commandant's office flagged it for immediate review. By 0700, the footage was already on Command's desk. It wasn't leaked. It didn't need to be. The trainee had simply followed routine. Uploading it into the internal archive meant for injury-related instructor incidents. Only this time, someone actually pressed play. Inside the admin annex, the Commandant watched the video twice, first without sound, then again with it. He didn't react when Briggs hit the mat, didn't blink when Lara Moore locked the choke. He paused only once, at her quiet line. File your own injury reports. By 07:30, the summons was issued. In the same gray conference room usually used for pre-deployment briefings, Lieutenant Commander Lara Moore sat upright, uniform crisp, her left shoulder still showing signs of recovery beneath the fabric, hands flat on the table. No counsel, no aid. Across from her sat Captain Donovan Hale, Facility Director, Commander Nora Evers, Operations Review, and Lieutenant Mark Hensley, the JAG liaison from Regional Command, recorder in plain sight. "We've reviewed the footage," Hale said, "all of it." Lara stayed silent. Evers tapped a folder. "You engaged in physical combat with 3 instructors outside the scheduled rotation. Explain." Her reply was steady. "They initiated contact the previous night, off record, unlogged. I responded under standard contact regulations." Hale raised a brow. "You consider a chokehold regulatory?" "I consider silence more dangerous," she said evenly, "especially when it follows a concussion-level strike to the head." Hensley leaned forward. "Do you have documentation of that incident?" Lara opened a folder and slid it across. Inside were time-stamped photos of her injuries, mild swelling, a split lip, all recorded by the facility medic at her request. No official report, just notations in the daily log. Attached was an unsigned injury waiver, the one Briggs should have filed but hadn't. The line for instructor-initiated contact was blank. The JAG officer scanned the file, voice dropping. "This makes the 3rd case involving Sergeant Cole Briggs in 18 months, he said, not to her, but to Hale. "The last 2 were flagged but never pursued. Both junior officers. Both withdrew complaints." Hale's jaw tightened. "I wasn't briefed?" "You were," Hensley cut in. "Marked resolved through peer mediation, which apparently meant they transferred out while Briggs stayed." He tapped the photo of Lara's bruised temple. This time, someone didn't fold. Evers leaned back, frowning. Hale exhaled, long and tired. "You could have pressed for court-martial or pulled a command override." "I wasn't interested in headlines," Lara Moore said quietly. "I was interested in standards." The room held still for a long moment. Then the Commandant tapped the desk once, the sound of a decision being sealed. "Effective immediately," the Commandant said, his voice even. "Sergeant Cole Briggs and Corporal Mason Tate are suspended pending administrative separation. Instructor status revoked. The 3rd party will be reassigned without prejudice." He turned to Lieutenant Mark Hensley, the JAG liaison, who gave a brief nod of agreement. "And you, Commander?" asked Captain Donovan Hale. Lara Moore stood. "Request reassignment to operational training oversight." Hale narrowed his eyes slightly, studying her expression. She wasn't looking for approval. She waited just long enough before adding, "I'm not here for revenge, I'm here for standards." Then she turned and left before anyone could offer praise, and no one dared to stop her. The sun had dropped low over Iron Bay, stretching long golden bands across the silent training fields. Most of the base lay quiet, engines cooled, radios still. Out on the western edge of the open range, one figure moved alone. Lieutenant Commander Lara Moore. No audience, no orders, just measured motion. Slow, deliberate breathing drills beneath the fading light. The bruises on her temple and lip had faded to soft tones of yellow and rose, but her stance betrayed no strain. Footsteps approached from behind. A young recruit stopped 10 feet back. He didn't salute right away. "Ma'am?" he asked. She didn't turn, just lowered her hand slightly and waited. "I just wanted to say, we didn't know who you were." Her voice came quiet. "That's not the point." He stepped forward half a pace. "Then what is?" She turned to face him. Not stern, not proud, just steady. "The point," she said, "is that now you do." He nodded once. No apology, no excuses. But this time he saluted. She returned it with a small nod, acknowledged, not overstated. As he walked off, 2 other recruits jogging nearby slowed for a moment, glancing her way, then looked ahead again. A silent kind of respect, earned, not assigned. Lara Moore turned back toward the sea. Her feet stayed planted, but her shadow no longer stood alone. Behind her, the last light sank below the horizon, and what followed wasn't emptiness. It was peace. Not the silence of dismissal, but the kind that comes when no one questions your place anymore. If someone knocked you down just to prove they were stronger, would you strike back in anger or wait until discipline itself revealed the truth? And tell me, which takes more strength? Control that never flinches, never shouts, never needs an audience, or raw force that burns out too fast? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read everyone. Then tap that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss a mission. And if you know someone who still mistakes silence for weakness, share this story with them. Your next video's already up. Go ahead and watch it now. This is Major Tom's Tales, and we'll see you tomorrow.